Hey friends, thanks for tuning in and welcome to Deep Thoughts Thursday. For today's episode, I thought that I would get kind of personal with you and tell you something that is freshly discovered in my life that I'm just kind of blown away by the sort of the implication or the meaning of what this means. So I'll just kind of share with you in the moment what's going on. So some of you know that I'm going through a major, basically midlife crisis, and I've been in therapy for a long time. And something that just really came to the fore in the last few weeks is bottom line is I've always apparently felt that I am undeserving of people's attention. And by attention, what I mean is kind of like a child needing the parents to pay attention to them. And it's like the experience of kids, to kids, like parents is like their world, right? And how the parents sort of obviously treat a child is like how the child sees the world, their world treating them. And well, apparently I had this belief that I didn't even know I had. It was somewhere deep inside, under layers of other beliefs that I worked on over the years, that said that I am undeserving of attention as I am. And in order to get attention, I either had to be sick and hurting and struggling so that you would have pity on me or you have sympathy for me, or I would be so useful or so sacrificial, so helpful that you will look at me and say, wow, Ari, that's you've been amazing help, thank you, right? To acknowledge my contributions. Either that, or especially in terms of my music, I thought that I had to be exceptional, like wow inducing, like my goodness, Ari is a virtuoso, amazing, I am impressed, blown away, that kind of musician, to be able to get attention as a musician, or to have even permission to do music. I needed to be good. And notice therein lies a total contradiction in that if you don't get good unless you keep doing it, but in order to do it you need it to be good, right? So it's like catch 22. But anyway, I'm being adult for a couple of decades now, and I've always wanted to be a full-time musician, and that goal has always eluded me. And if looking back, if my career, so-called career, has always been like go this way, hit a wall, go that way, hit a wall, and then kind of like, so there is a progression but not a very cohesive one. Like all this time spent trying this and that, it's hard to make things add up this way. The problem was that like I started out being in touch with what I really wanted to do, which was to play my guitar, write songs, and share my songs, right? And I would show up in the early on, and of course there won't be a lot of people to pay attention to me because obviously I'm starting out, right? But instead of accepting, I'll say, yeah, well, I'm starting out, of course. That experience of showing up and then like not having the audience already there for you, I took it, and this is gonna sound really immature, but I took it way personally. That to me, because I had this belief that I am undeserving of attention, when I show up and see that people aren't paying attention to me, like playing background music in restaurants and stuff, and I'm just filling up the space and nobody's paying attention, that experience would feel so painful, because it directly speaks to my fear that's I'm undeserving of attention, that I would not be able to go on showing up and then I will see that as a wall and say, oh wow, okay, so what I'm doing is boring and people are not attention. All right, let me just twist things out. Let me just try something else so that I can be either that wall person, or other people say, oh wow, that's so helpful. I can, you know, you bring so much value, and so therefore I'm gonna provide attention to you. On and on it went with me going in different directions. I tried being a film composer. I tried writing jingles. I tried teaching, obviously, and there was, of course, some of it was just purely not a good fit. Others I could have stayed and made something out of it, but I just ran out of fuel because in the early stages of challenges and paying the dues, it felt so painful, it felt so discouraging. It just got amplified because of that inner belief that I was fundamentally undeserving of attention. And by that, it's kind of like, that experience of, hey, saying, look mom, look what I made experience. And then, loving parents would say, oh wow, look what you made, isn't it awesome, I'm glad you so made it, right? I grew up under loving parents, but I know that there were challenges early on with the family situations, and then I was always really sensitive, or I'm actually an empath, so I feel other people's feelings vividly, and I am heavily sort of a, what's the word? I'm an introvert, but not just that, but like an internally sort of facing person. So my parents did tell me later on that I was kind of a mystery to them, and they didn't know exactly, I guess, how to sort of, I guess, give me what I needed back then. And then me, because I was a sensitive person, I was not abused, I was not neglected, I had loving parents, but somehow, them not knowing exactly what's the right thing to do with me. I'm the oldest child, and then me being sensitive, between that, I just grew up with this idea that, oh, people aren't paying attention to me. I need to do something, be something else. I need to prove that I'm deserving of attention. And then, I love music, I love guitar, I love to write songs, right? But then all these creative activities got so written and skewed and distorted because I loaded this expectation or responsibility of saying, look, my songs earn me the right to get people's attention. And arts and creativity, it's just that is not the right, that is a heavy burden to put upon your precious little creations. The creations come alive when you go at it with the spirit of play, and if you don't sort of load it up with all these expectations about what you should be and what outcomes you should produce, so it makes sense to me now why sort of I had an idea of what I wanted to be, of who I was, but somehow I felt that I could not stay on that course, because staying on that course meant did not sort of meet the need. It only reinforced my fear that I was undeserving of attention. So, having realized that, what do I do about it? Well, actually, you saw my last video, actually crying is a big way to sort of process that unresolved issue. Is that you might feel grief about it, you might feel angry about it, you might feel resentful, or all these strong feelings wrapped up around that unresolved issue. you cry about it, and then if you cry about it long enough and deeply and intensely enough, that sort of the knot that is your unresolved issue that was driving you through everything that you do starts to loosen up. And then I'm feeling just a little more freer, and I feel more in touch with my songs, and I am coming back to, and you probably noticed, well, I still do a little bit too much talking about music and not enough making music, but I'm getting there, right? I see myself transitioning towards my original goal to play the guitar, to write songs, and to share what I have. I have been hard at work on songwriting, and I've started sharing with some of my inner circles, and I hope to have some to share with the wide world. Hopefully not before too long. But the biggest thing is that I just feel sort of freer and less blocked, or more unblocked in terms of being able to show up, with each videos, with each blog or whatever, or my social media posts, and just share what I'm like, just share my random thoughts, or thought of the day kind of thing, or what I'm thinking about, what I'm working on, just share, because I'm not like loading up everything I broadcast with this expectation of having to earn people's approval and attention. I feel freer to just, let it out. And one of the favorite quotes that I got from Elizabeth Gilbert book, Big Magic, it goes something like, I wish you would write anything and recklessly put it out there. And she was talking about this recluse poet or writer who was brilliant, but who only produced work like once every other decade or something like that, and he passed away, and she was hoping that people will just not worry so much about what happens to your art, or what happens to you as the result of you putting out your art, and just recklessly create and just put it out there, and you don't need anybody's permission, you don't need anybody's approval. And what would happen if you could do that is to say, the more you show up and just start spewing out your creations, people who happen to have your similar sensibilities, who might be drawn to it, start gathering. And I certainly sense that happening in my circles as well. So it's been certainly not easy to be in this sort of a midlife crisis, but I feel that I am on the upswing, right? Like the worst might be behind me, I'm hoping, right? Maybe I'll discover something else even deeper than this after I'm done with this, but we'll see. So the point of the story is that I would, how should I say, inner work is very important. If you ask me, I think everybody should see therapists on a regular basis. Just like you have a regular health checkup, you should have a regular mental checkup. And to become aware of these inner beliefs that is skewing your worldview, it's kind of distorting everything you see in your world, right? Me saying that, not many people showed up to listen to me, therefore my music, or I am not good enough. Instead of saying, just because I'm just in the starting place, and if I keep showing up, people will show up too, right? I mean, that's the way I should have thought about it all along, but because of my belief, I interpreted that, neutral sort of a situation to be something that is much more painful to me than I really needed to. And you bet I feel really silly about that. I feel stupid, but don't worry. I mean, I have made peace with my journey. I am really come to value all the things I learned along the way. And yes, the journey has taken long, and it went in places that I didn't plan to. But I've who I am is more interesting and have more to offer because my path was so winding and with twists and turns. Anyway, the point is that if you get in touch with whatever it is that is you feel sort of is blocking you inside, it's, and then I'm talking to perhaps fellow musicians, it's not so much about this marketing tactic or do this strategy or whatever. I mean, those problems, we're all smart people, we're all able, we can solve those situations, problems as they come up if we were unblocked internally. That it's the reason why we get stuck is because there is something in whatever situations that you have that is making it seem like it is something that you can't overcome, that obstacle, or you might see a same pattern happening over and over, and there is some kind of lesson or there's some kind of revelation that is waiting to be discovered by you, but yet you haven't come to it yet. And when you can sort of dig down deep and figure out what it is and start to cry about it, it's a funny thing to say, you might feel it dislodging and things might change, right? So that's my thought for today, and I would love to hear what you think of whatever in what I said, or whatever in your said. I am interested in hearing where you are in your journey and what it is that you want to do and what challenges you see and what have worked in terms of nudging you along your path, all that, right? Let me know in the comments, and I will respond as I can. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I'll see you next time.